time now for Keller at Large.
Here's Jon.
Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. You don't need me to tell you that events in the Middle East have been dominating many conversations, not just around the world, but certainly in our region here. So we're pleased to have with us to discuss the situation from a local perspective, Ambassador Meron Reuben, Consul General of Israel to New England since 2020. Ambassador Reuben is a veteran diplomat whose postings include Colombia, Bolivia, Paraguay, and the UN. He also served for 5 years as Israel's Chief of State Protocol. Mr. Ambassador, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you for coming. So, at the first rally in Boston in the wake of the Hamas attacks of October 7th, Senator Ed Markey called for a ceasefire and was booed, but he called for a ceasefire. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley continues to call for an immediate ceasefire. What do you make of what they're calling for?
First and foremost, I think that we have to understand the background. We, at least you in the United States, know, unfortunately, all too well what one person with one gun can do and the mayhem and the murder that can be caused. Now one has to put into mind what happened on October the 7th when thousands of terrorists with much more than one gun came across and massacred more than 1,400 people on the Israeli side. It was and will always be remembered as Israel's darkest day in its modern history. And to immediately call for a ceasefire after something like that is akin to not really understanding what has taken place and what is happening in the region. And Israel is definitely focused on making sure that the Hamas terrorist group on the other side of the fence will never ever be able to do something like this again. And you cannot have a ceasefire and then expect them, unless of course they give themselves up, then there's no way we're going to have a ceasefire, not now.
In the meantime, I think we all understand Hamas in Gaza is embedded in the civilian population, and the Israeli military actions there are resulting in a lot of civilian casualties. We've heard this saying repeated quite a bit recently, that the death of civilians in the effort to kill terrorists risks creating more terrorists than you can ever kill. Is there any truth to that?
There might be truth in that, but at the same time, we have seen the Hamas terrorist group and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad terrorist group embed themselves over the last 16 years and fight Israel from inside civilian populations. They have built a warren of tunnels under the Gaza Strip, more than 300 miles long, where they sit, and they've been sitting for nearly a month practically, and taking shelter while they allow the civilian population to be above ground. And yet they have, over these 16 years, built themselves very comfortable places underground to shelter from attacks. And this is something that we are going to have to deal with. We are going to have to get to these warrens, get to these safe spots for the terrorists, and make sure. The only problem is that they have cleverly, and of course against all rules and regulations, built them under hospitals, under schools, under mosques, under kindergartens, etc. So when these warrens are actually brought down or demolished, they bring down some of the buildings on top. And we have been calling for over 3 weeks to the civilian population to move south. A large majority did. But now the city of Gaza and the northern area seems to be cordoned off by Israeli troops, which means that those who are now left there and did not heed the warnings are in a very problematic situation.
All right, let's take a break, and when we continue, we'll talk a little bit more about how the situation in the Middle East is affecting us here in the New England region. When we continue our conversation with the Consul General of Israel to New England in a moment. Stay with us.